everything began again. Each week with its Shabbos of silver candlesticks and braided challah, each year with its seasons, festivals, Torah readings, child, father, child. It was a Mebus strip. At the end of the story begins again. Before he climbed out the window, Moish packed only his few clothes, some food, a knife, a book he had often examined when alone, and 2 silver coins that he took from where his mother had hidden them, behind a stone on the hearth. He sewed these into the waist of his pants. He came across the book by accident, this book that had a beginning and an end. Playing at a game of catch and wrestle with his friend Pinchas, Moish had slid under his parents' bed and pushed himself against the wall where he hoped he would be invisible behind the curtain of the embroidered bedspread. Breathing hard, attempting to remain quiet and undetected, Moish felt its shape beneath his hip. He didn't know what it was. When he was eventually discovered, after he deliberately released a prodigious and satisfying greps, a gaseous chauffeur call alerting his friends to his location, he left whatever it was beneath the bed to be disinterred and examined later. He knew it was somehow important and secret, better to wait until he was alone. Pinchas gone home, and his mother out at the mikveh. When he unwrapped the old tallis, a prayer shawl that surrounded it, Moish was surprised to discover a book, an ancient book. Grainy brown leather with faded gold lettering and pages the color of an old man's hands. The script looked like Hebrew or Yiddish, but it was the language of some parallel world, gibberish, or the writing of a sorcerer. Most intriguing were the strange drawings, charts which seemed to diagram the architecture of heavenly places or the dance step of 10-footed angels. Mysterious arrays of letters, the unspeakable and obsidian incantations of demons. And most captivating of all were what appeared to be maps of the parallel world itself, filled with ring upon ring of concentric circles, rippling out from the beginning of creation and the center of everything, as if one fine morning God had cannonballed down from everywhere and nowhere and into the exact middle of the primordial sea. But perhaps, Moish wondered, these maps represented the actual Earth, the alphabet of cryptic markings, boats floating upon the waves of a vast ocean, searching for the edges of hidden knowledge. It was as if Adam and his wife Eve had found a map instead of an apple, there in the center of the garden. Instead of good and evil, they had discovered a map of Eden, the geography, the secrets, the true limits of paradise, and the paradise that lies beyond. Maybe that is why his father kept this book hidden where no one, not the rabbis or the shamus or the other men, could find it. So Moish took the book, the Zohar, the Book of Splendor, and left. So I'm going to jump ahead. So he becomes a ship's boy. I'm just going to read the last little bit the last little bit that I'm going to read is where he meets this he meets this guy. We'll find out who it is. He's on a boat, and the boat gets taken over by privateers. And then what happens is he washes up on the beach and discovers he washes up on the beach, and he's discovered by this guy who turns out to be Columbus, basically. So, and actually, this happened before Columbus was. And when Columbus was young, he worked as on a bunch of different boats, and he ended up. And he was actually a privateer, a kind of paid government authorized pirate, and he actually ended up attacking boats off the coast of Portugal, and ended up washing up on the shore of Lisbon. Columbus stood over Moish's inert body. "It's because of me that he has arrived here," he said after a moment. "He should thank me for his good fortune." So he's just washed up on the beach. "If he knew he was anywhere," I said, "my master would indeed be grateful to be there. Like a paratrooper without a parachute is grateful for gravity," I thought. "Lisbon is a place of bounteous opportunity," he continued. "I myself am bound from the studio of my brother Bartholomew, the map maker. One could do worse than follow the route of one who makes maps. We agreed that we would set out together, the three of us, once Moish had regained himself. The pickling in the ocean changed Moish. It was a kind of briny baptism, From now on, like a knife in a boot, I'm keeping my Jewishness hidden. He said, it's safer for no one to know, so I need a new name. Miguel, I said, it's Spanish and Portuguese, but you need a last name too. You can't be Miguel Ben Chaim. So what should I be? Rich. But in the meantime, you should try Levant. It means the east, where the sun rises. Moish tried it out. Miguel Levant. Yes, I could be him, he said. He sounds like a mensch. It was late in the morning when we began walking the road to Lisbon. Or rather, they walked, and I rode on my now customary shoulder. The sun was a gold piece against a smooth ocean of sky. The three of us, having nothing, carried nothing, save Columbus's chart and Moish's book, concealed like a prayer shawl. My tatterdemalion companions looked washed up, dredged like seaweed from the bottom of the sea. I myself, adorned in my usual feathers, appeared no different than if I were a parrot king dressed for his coronation. By noon, we were hungry, and so stopped at a farmhouse to beg some bread. The farmer eyed us suspiciously. Moish was dark, curly-haired, but as long as he did not speak, did not seem more a Jew than a Portuguese. His head was uncovered. He had no hat, remember? And his clothes were faithless rags. Columbus was bedraggled, yet his supercilious hearing impressed the farmer, so he believed our story. Just this morning we had been beaten and robbed on our way to an audience with the king at court. And he, I said, indicating Moish with a nod of my beak, lost his hat. He brought bread and grapes and wine to the table. I saw Moish under his breath make the bracha for both bread and drink. He could hide who he was. He looked like his new name. Soon he would learn to sound like this someone else. Who better than a parrot to teach such a thing? And I think I should stop there. It's a bit hard to excerpt. And he goes on with Columbus for a while, and then ends up becoming as I said, becoming a pirate. And then the story takes off. I'm going to just read one more thing to conclude, I think. The radiant happiness. The doctor slept like a baby. Two women stood beside his bed. One tipped a bottle over a handkerchief and then covered the doctor's mouth and nose. The other pulled back the blankets and pushed a syringe through his navel. In this way, the baby began to grow inside the doctor. He did not understand the increasing bulge in his gut. In the beginning, he attributed it to a flourishing middle-aged spread. Soon he felt the new heartbeat and then the kicking. It wasn't a kicking motivated by a need to escape, but rather an I am here call. Now I have intent and consciousness. The baby was a constant companion for the doctor, a familiar kept safe and warm inside him. At certain times, this issue of orifices uncomfortably entered his mind. At some point in the future, his child would seek the world, a small cat looking for a cat flap. Great pain or surgery would be required. In the meantime, the doctor took to wearing baggy clothing, oversized sweatshirts, and while at work, white lab coats. Those around him noted the warm glow, the sense of bounty and health that radiated from his happy and larger self. When it seemed the doctor was speaking to himself, cheerily babbling about this or that, about birds or the moving clouds, his friends and office staff smiled indulgently, buoyed by his good humor and glad to overlook the quibbling eccentricities that so clearly originated in a deep pleasure and satisfaction with life itself. The seasons passed. The baby grew. It took to ranging about the doctor's body, a restless toddler at play on a jungle gym. "Daddy, I love you," it said. "Daddy, you are a good daddy. Daddy, I like it when you sing." And because he could not hold or even see his child, when the doctor was not explaining the vibrant surprises of the outer world, he sang almost non-stop, long improvised songs which incorporated the world and the doctor's feelings for his ever-growing child. The doctor's child was a bright, curious, and healthy child and continued to thrive. The doctor became massive, and though others shuddered when they observed his enormous misshapen body, he stumbled about with a fantastical grin, transforming his unshaven chin. 5 years passed. 15. The child's voice changed. The doctor wrapped himself in vast cloaks and supported himself with canes and hid behind his desk during patient consultations. Familiar as he was with the subtle distinctions of modern reproductive medicine, the doctor knew that this child could not be his own. Or if it was, it had resulted from some surreptitious and unnatural sleight of what might best be termed hand. And the boy himself, who by now had developed a functional understanding of the basic operations of biological science, began to wonder in his liquid world about the nature of his own provenance. He was content within that fluid world. It was the only geography he had ever known. But the boy had begun to have longings concerning his own biology, about his own, though he hesitated to use the term with the doctor, mother. The boy began to sing to himself, low-voiced songs of conjecture, filled with questions of metaphysics, of origin, and of the sports games of which he and his father were avid listeners. Might his mother, too, be a listener to these games? Might she participate in such games as the mother of his brother and sister? Might he have siblings? Did his brothers and sisters live on the outside, or did they, too, live within another? Father, how was I conceived? The boy asked the doctor one day between patients. Though he knew much about the world and its reproductions, the doctor could not account or explain the boy's conception, or indeed his arrival, biological or miraculous, inside of him. Superman's parents understood the spacecraft's implantation in the earth around Smallville. The doctor remembered only the small churnings, the ill feeling, the beginnings of movement, and the happiness, the radiant happiness. Thanks very much. And now we return you to internet gambling and cat videos and Justin Bieber.